Welcome to the Executive Coaching Podcast, where Executive Coach Alicia Cowan will discuss leadership topics and coaching solutions to tackle the most difficult problems that keep you from leading your team to success.
Hi there, leaders. It's Alicia Cowan, and welcome to episode number 28 of the Executive Coaching Podcast. So I can't believe it. As this airs, it will be rounding out the end of the calendar year. And so really there is 2 episodes left in this calendar year. And so I've kind of thought about where we are in terms of closing out the year. And I want to talk today about our achievements and 2023 achievements. But before we get started, I know you are all hanging on the edge of your seat, for those of you who've been listening for a while, on what is happening with the house. And I can hardly wait to tell you. We have a closing date. And so I am so excited to tell you when this airs on the 19th, that is actually our closing date. So we are about 11 days away as I record this from closing. We're going to walk through and do the final walkthrough of the house next Tuesday, and we're closing on 12/19. And so I can hardly contain my excitement. And this is the biggest Christmas gift I am giving myself this year. So my husband and I were so excited, the whole family really, but we're really thrilled to be moving in before the end of the year. So excited about that. So I'll fill you in as that progresses, but know that we are rounding out, turning the corner in the final days of this house build. And of course, I'm just thrilled. Can't wait. I'm so excited. Also, I'm really excited to tell you too, this month marks the 3rd year of my business. And so Cowan Coaching has turned 3. And it has been just such a journey and such an amazing ride. And so I'm very thankful to all of you who have listened. Some of you might be listening for the first time, and some of you might be listening now to, again, 28 episodes in a row. But now my business officially has turned 3, and this is the first full calendar year of my podcast. So I have had just the best time doing this work. And so I am so grateful for you to be on the other end of allowing me to do it, because it's amazing and it's of such amazing work. And I'm so grateful for the past 3 years and for you to be along for that journey. So thank you for that. And here's to number 4. Let's go. So we around the Cowan household are busy, not only just with those 2 things that I talked about, but also my son turns 12 this weekend. And so he is headed off to a really fun weekend. They are actually at Disney for a school field trip today. Both my son and my daughter, and he's turning 12 and doing this like crazy fun airsoft trip with the boys tomorrow. And then also we have the very first cheer competition of this season this weekend too, all in the midst of the holiday season. So there is no shortage of things happening as we round out the year. So lots of things to keep us busy. But that is what brings me to this topic. We are going to talk about 2023 achievements today. And why I want to bring this topic to you is because it sparked a thought. Recently, I had met up with a client, and now I consider her a really great dear friend, for brunch recently. And she knows who she is, as she's probably listening to this podcast. We met up and I told her, I was like, yes, let's meet up. We need to celebrate. We need to celebrate the year. And she's like, what are we celebrating? So I was like, wait a minute, you had a great year. What do you mean, what are we celebrating? And she said, did I? With the big question mark. She's like, oh, I guess I did. And so, there was so many great things that happened, not only to her and in her both personal and her career, but also to all of you. And so I want to give you a end of year wrap up pep talk and talk about what I've seen in you. So, and I say that collective proverbial you, because I have coached so many of you this year that listen and or that were my clients this year. And again, even if it's your first time listening, if you are finding a hard time celebrating something, and again, this is airing at the end of 2023. However, anytime that you listen to this, if you're having a hard time finding something to celebrate as a win, you can borrow from some of the things, the observations that I've seen throughout this year and what I've seen in collective you, what I've seen that we're facing as senior leaders and being in the workforce and doing some challenging, tough things in this past year. So you can borrow from some of these, and hopefully some of these things will feel familiar to you, because I know you're out there just killing it. I know, because I talk to you, I see you. And so I am going to reflect back what I have seen and give you some things to celebrate. Okay. Now, a little bit of coaching. Why we do this, why our brains are wired to be not always looking for the win. Okay, it is normal. And I like to throw in the psychology of it, but that is totally normal. Our brains are wired to be looking for uh, the negative, let's call it. And there's a great reason for it. It's because our brains are wired to scan for danger and look for things that aren't going well. And not necessarily, they weren't prehistorically wired to be in the workforce looking for danger, but we've brought that brain along with us as we've evolved. That brain, and it's always scanning the horizon for danger and looking out for us and trying to look for what's wrong in order to keep us safe, is that brain is always working. And so when it comes up that okay, what's going well and where's the wins, what's a gold star that we can give ourselves, the brain is automatically just wired to be like, nothing, there's all these things going wrong and looking towards the future, and so much I have to fix, and there's so much I haven't done well, right? So in order to rewire that, or in order to counteract that, that's why we look for the win. That's why we look for the gold star. That's why we look for recognition for ourselves and for others about what is going well, because we have to rewire and train our brains to override some of that natural conditioning. So nothing's going wrong. It is not a bad thing. We want our brains to look for and scan for danger, but it's where then we use our prefrontal cortex, the other part of our brain, to say, are we really in danger because of that or not? And how do I celebrate the things that are going well? And this is not about toxic positivity. This is not about forcing it, but it is looking for and recognizing when there are great things that are happening. Okay. It's not about faking it. It's not about overriding the things that aren't going well, because we'll talk about that. It is great to look at the losses or the L's and where we took an L and learn from it too. Okay. All right. So let's get into it though. So I wanted to give you a little bit of background, but let's dig into the wins and where I can give you some thoughts to potentially borrow from me to celebrate. Okay. Number one, I have seen you as senior leaders lead with such grace this year. There have been some situations where the people that you lead have had some just unimaginable personal struggles. And what I've seen in you as senior leaders and some of the examples that I've talked to you about and witnessed you lead through have been so unimaginably challenging, I'm sure, for the individual, of course, that's going through it, but for you to also lead the entire team and help this individual through some of those personal struggles. And I commend you, because that navigation of supporting of others and realizing that it's not just about what happens within the workplace, but also, of course, their personal life is going to impact work, and the ability to support them is such an amazing skill set. So thank you. Seeing you lead with grace and really treat people really well when they're having struggles, whatever that may look like for them. And I've coached some of you that have had some great leaders do this for you. And if that is the situation, the recognition and the thankfulness of that, amazing. And of course, no one wants to be in that situation where it happens, but when it does, leading with grace is such an amazing skill set to have as you go through it. Okay. Number two, this is kind of ties into this, but being nice is like having a comeback. Okay. So I've seen you lead with just such kindness. And what I mean by that is in a world where I think the news puts like humans as a species not being nice on the forefront, right? Every time, we're opening up the news, it's just another situation of like humans not being nice to each other. I've seen, again, through my interactions with you, such an outpouring of unsolicited kindness and niceness to each other and to your teams as a result. And what I mean by that is just reaching out to others and being generous with your words and how you're leading others and mentoring others and giving unsolicited compliments and just being so kind with your words and also with your time and how you're spending time and giving time in leading others and supporting others. And truly, I've seen examples of you as senior leaders paying it forward with your words and your time in so many different examples. But being nice and being kind and generous is just something that, again, I hope you're seeing it. And if you're seeing it in others, thank them for it because I've seen it in so many different ways this year. All right. So that's number 2. 3. Okay. Senior leaders, you have navigated through some unexpected change like a champ. So what I mean by that, we're out of quote unquote COVID, but we are still in the uncertainty of the aftermath. No one knew what to expect, and we really still are not fully sure what to expect as we're in this aftermath and experiencing world and the working world after COVID, right? So what I've seen, there's been some reorganizations in so many different ways. So I've talked to all of you leaders and you have picked up added responsibilities, you've picked up different teams, and you didn't necessarily foresee this happening at the beginning of the year, or ever have it in your capacity or wheelhouse. Like you didn't see that coming. And you're doing it so amazingly with all that reorg. 2, layoffs. Again, while I've seen some companies have tremendous amounts of growth, others during this massive amount of financial uncertainty, there have been a ton of layoffs as well and some constrictions. And some of you have been impacted that I've talked to, and you've been taking a hit in the confidence because there hasn't been a great reason given to you about why you've been laid off. It maybe was handled really poorly by your employer. And again, I see a lot of you handling it with grace, and I want you to know you're not alone. And I know navigating this change is tough. And I've talked to a lot of you through a lot of these different scenarios and know that you got this. You can handle this with resilience. And the last piece of this too, I think, again, as senior leaders, I've seen us, again, post great resignation and quiet quitting and then return to the office and all of that we've had to navigate as like middle to senior level management. We're facing some of those impacts of the decisions that either we made or our companies made, right? And so whether that's with our hiring decisions, some tough compensation decisions or compensation conversations with pay transparency, and all those difficult conversations that we've had to have and the turnover we have to face, again, we're navigating all of that. And again, if any of this feels familiar, please pat yourself on the back and say, I'm navigating really unexpected change and I'm not alone in this. And I can continue to do this with strength and resilience. Okay. Because again, I see you doing it. And so I want you to recognize that that is not easy work and it is not for the faint of heart. All right. So please commend yourself and give yourself a pat on the back for that tough work. And again, amidst all of this, number 4, I want to say that what I've seen in your companies, you have had some record growth within your organization. So despite all of those challenges, what I've also talked to you as clients about is that you're also seeing tremendous growth, revenue and profits, and going into different markets and acquiring different businesses and all different kinds of things that are happening that are so amazing. And I want you to pause and just recognize that if you are in a situation where you've seen some record growth, you are a part of that. As a senior leader, you are contributing to that. And so please recognize that and know you're making an impact. And then last but not least, number 5, to round this out, I want to commend you because as senior leaders, what I've seen is you are committed to growth. You're committed to your team's growth. You have helped others navigate their roles through leading and leading others. You have navigated and challenged yourself in growth. You are being open to whatever's next for you, the growth, the learning. You're humble. And what I see out there is that senior leaders more than ever are not just resting on the laurels of like, I've made it to this level and I'm just going to stop because I've clearly, like, again, even with your accomplishments, of course, making it to that level in and of itself is amazing and shows that you are a strong leader. But what I've seen is leaders continue to say, okay, there are areas where I can be in best service to myself and in turn then others and my company by continuing to grow. And so I see that in you. I see you making an investment in yourself and therefore joining this movement to make the workplace better. And so I commend you for that. And so I've talked to a lot of you. You're starting to think about your goals and where you're headed for 2024. I know a lot of you are in this, like, okay, I have this ambition and this drive and this focus that I have for 2024. And if you're in that and you want some help with that, investing in yourself, helping to get results, better results faster, I am here for you. We can talk through it and what that looks like, because all these accomplishments that you have, all of the things that you've done so far to get yourself to this point are so amazing and meant to be celebrated. And you can still have capacity for more. You can still have whatever's next for you, that next rung on the ladder ahead of you in 2024. Because if you can do all of this, imagine what you can do with the next chapter. All right. So those are the 5 things that I've seen. And again, there are so many more. I wanted to kind of pick some of the top themes and topics and trends that I saw in 2023, borrow from them, reflect on them yourself, think of the things that you did well, and celebrate some of those wins. And what I want you to know as we close out this calendar year, I think it's really important as senior leaders for you to hear me because I get such a different perspective. A lot of you want to know what's happening in other organizations, at other senior level leaders, and what's the best practice and what's happening. And I will tell you, I have heard tons of themes that other leaders have very similar struggles and are facing very similar challenges. So you are not alone. There are other leaders just like you facing similar challenges and problems. Okay. So I think that's really comforting to know. And as you have this end of year reflection, ask yourself, you have a choice. What do I want to leave behind in this season? What do I want to leave behind in 2023? What can I just close out and leave here in 2023? And it's okay, like I mentioned earlier, to take a look at the L's. What were the losses that I had that I want to learn from? What lessons can I take from this year? And then most importantly, what are the wins? What are the W's that I want to celebrate from 2023? And again, help your brain rewire to look for the positive and take the win. And we're going to rewire to look for the things that went well and find a moment to celebrate as we round out this 2023. All right. And again, we're recording this at the end of 2023. This is an exercise you can do at any given moment and look back at the past 12 months and do the same exercise as you think about what went well. Okay. And if you need help with any of this, again, I'm starting to really plan ahead 2024 with you. I am taking individual executive coaching clients to do one-on-one, this type of work of getting better results faster and making workplaces better. I'm also looking at cohorts. There are a lot of you that need leadership support and one-on-one coaching support or group coaching support for your leaders. So if there's options that you want to look at for the people that you lead or that you support within your organization, that is also something that I am working through with a lot of you and a lot of your companies. So please don't hesitate to reach out. As always, you have all my information in the show notes and my website, which is EliciaCowanCoaching.com. It's ElisiaKeown coaching.com. And as always, thank you so much for listening, and we will talk to you soon. Bye.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Executive Coaching Podcast with Alicia Cowan. If you're ready to have an executive coach who's ready to help you lead your team to success, then book an introductory call at EliciaCowanCoaching.com/call.